The Call on Our Shot podcast is back. It's Tuesday, December 15th. I'm Austin O'Connell, joined by Logan Stacy and Matt Pieper. And with the NBA starting back up in a week, we are here to give out some NBA predictions, early predictions for the upcoming season. But before we get started, how are you boys doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. What about you, Matt?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Sitting in my office here in Orlando, Florida, so enjoying the time.
You enjoying the weather? Well, I'm doing well, and I'm kind of just happy to have basketball back. It feels like the Lakers just won the title a couple weeks ago, even though it's been more like a month or two. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but the bubble didn't really feel like the real NBA. I know we're missing fans, and we'll miss fans going into this season, but like we didn't have some of our favorite players out there, and whether or not they're on bad teams or not, sometimes it's most fun to watch those bad teams. But anyways, we're going to hop right into these predictions, and we're going to start off with the biggest award of the year, most valuable player. And Matt, since you're a newcomer, I want to see who you predict to take home the MVP trophy this year.
Ooh, that's a lot of pressure to get started off here. So let's see if you guys start throwing stuff at me. I know that like the usual predictions everybody goes for. You go for Giannis because he's already won it twice. You go for LeBron because he's won it 4 times, and he probably could have won it another 6 throughout his career. Like, let's be completely honest. But I'm going with a bit of a dark horse pick for this year. I think Luka could come out and like really take it by storm. Guy almost averaged a triple double last year, putting up some like Westbrook-esque stat lines. That team gets better every single time they play. You know, he hits some big shots, and guy is what, 20, I think. You know, and he's already this good. Oh man, like he could be the best player in the NBA in a year or two.
Yeah, I don't want to pump the brakes on you, but I wouldn't call him necessarily a dark horse. He is the odds-on favorite to win MVP. And, looking at his stats last year, it feels like it's more of like a narrative kind of thing. Like it's his destiny to win this year's award. I don't know. That's just me. What do you feel, Logan?
Yeah, no, I agree. Looking at the odds, he is the odds-on favorite. But you know, as far as my pick, I could go even more off the radar. How about this name for you guys? Damian Lillard. Now we all saw what Dame Time did in the bubble, and he drops 50 with ease every night. But I mean, just talk about electric. I think the Blazers are going to shock a lot of people tonight. He can put up the numbers that Luka could put up in points and scoring, and I think the Blazers are going to be a lot more improved than they were last year, just fighting even for the 8 seed. I mean, Luka's a great player. He's young, but who would you pick? Would you pick Mavs or Blazers as far as a complete team? With the Mavs, again, I want to remind everyone, Seth Curry. The Mavs lost Seth Curry. He was a big key piece to the Mavs.
You can go, Matt. Who do you think?
Well, honestly, like I'm kind of torn on that because we've still got a lot of unproven stuff as far as the Blazers go. You know, like they've got a couple of good players in their rotation, like Hassan Whiteside, and they've got Melo, but we never know what Whiteside or what Melo we're gonna get. And so they to go from blowing out the Lakers by 30 one night to I don't know, then the next night they'll lose to the Hawks by 20 because nobody other than Dame shows up, and he can only score 50. He can't score 100.
Yeah, I get what Logan's saying, get what you're saying, Matt. I don't know. It's just looking at Luka, he's going to put up more complete stats than Dame. Like Dame will probably average more points, but even last year, Luka was still averaging 29 points, like 8 or 9 rebounds and 8 assists. Just seems like his award to lose. And I mean, I'll go with mine, and it's not really a dark horse. I think LeBron James is due another one. Everyone kind of knows he's the best player in the league. And even though it might be Luka's time to shine, everyone knows he has many more years in his career to win an MVP. This could be like that last LeBron James, here's your MVP. This is our send-off for you in terms of the award. Because he hasn't won it in, I don't know, 7, 8 years. Although he probably, like Matt said, he could have won it 6 to 7 more times. So that's my person. If I'm going to choose a dark horse, it goes right in tandem with Matt's choice. I'm going to say Trae Young. A lot of people forget. I mean, it's a hot take, but he averaged 30 and 9 last year. He didn't have as many rebounds as Luka, and he wasn't even in that conversation because, the Hawks were terrible. And that we'll get into this later, a surprising team to watch. But I think the Hawks will be surprisingly pretty good this year. They got Clint Capella finally healthy. They got Bogdan Bogdanovic. They got Danilo Gallinari. I don't know. They're an interesting team to watch. I'm not saying they're going to be a 2 seed in the East, but Trae Young is a name to watch for MVP.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
And it goes right against with the Luka.
Yeah.
Him and Luka have had a constant narrative their whole career so far.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, their destinies could be kind of like intertwined for years. Like we could see them trade off MVPs and have that be like the next Dwayne Wade and LeBron James story of like the NBA. But as far as Trae Young goes, I think that's like a really, really good sleeper pick. The only thing I'm a little concerned about, and we'll see if it happens better this year, is that if I remember right, I think he was like the bottom of the NBA or like very, very near the bottom in defensive efficiency last year.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. Steph Curry did win 2 MVPs. So.
Oh, no shade at Steph, man. He doesn't deserve that. Harden won an MVP. But yeah, no, you're totally correct. And they're both 2 young talents that are going to have very promising careers. And then we're going to transition into even younger talents. And that's the Rookie of the Year award. Logan, who do you think is going to take home this award this year?
Okay, you guys hold your laughter. But I want to go. I want to go really far reach on this one, and the reason is because could I go Anthony Edwards? Sure. The Timberwolves are going to be an unknown. Could I go LaMelo? Yeah, the media circus around the Ball family. Yeah, you could do those 2, but I'm going to go Deni Avdija for the kind of Luka Doncic point that we've been arguing as far as the player coming overseas to the NBA. I looked at his stats in his last preseason game. He went 3 for 3 from 3. I mean, that's say what you want. He might be a sniper on a Wizards team that is absolutely going to need some offense. I'm not saying the Wizards are going to be any good, but who knows? Westbrook might complement him well in DC, and Deni Avdija is my pick.
He's got such a tall hill to climb to even be near that Rookie of the Year award. But I can't call you crazy until we've seen him play. But I think you're pretty crazy on that prediction. But hey, you do you, man. What about you, Matt?
Well, to talk about Logan's point for a second, yeah, I do think that's a little bit off the wall pick for sure. Like if you were betting on that, if you put $10 in, you'd probably make $1 million if you won Rookie of the Year. But the thing is though that like we've seen little situations like that happen before. Like a couple of years ago when I think it was like Ben Simmons and Brandon Ingram both got drafted like 1 and 2, but that year it was like Malcolm Brogdon or something who like snuck in out of nowhere and won the Rookie of the Year because just like a combination of factors with injuries, combination of factors with players underperforming. So like I don't think that's completely off the wall. But my pick to go kind of at something that you mentioned earlier with a little bit of a media circus is I am on the LaMelo Ball hype train.
Oh, brother.
I am on it, man. But listen to my reasoning, okay? It's not because I think LaMelo Ball is the best player in this draft. Because I don't. I think that there's at least 2 or 3 people in the draft class who are better basketball players right now than he is. But I think he is on the best situational team that could lead to him winning the Rookie of the Year award. Because a lot of the guys who win this award aren't people who get drafted to like amazing situations where they're a really good number 2 scoring option on their team. Like you look back at the Rookie of the Year award, I think Damian Lillard and Anthony Davis were in the same year, right? The difference between those 2 is that Anthony Davis had a little bit more competition on his team. Like he couldn't put up those numbers that Damian Lillard could put up because he was on a bit of a worse team and carried them and dropped like I think it was like 19, 6, and 5 or something. Like LaMelo Ball's in that kind of situation in my opinion, where he like walking in is already the focal point of that offense. So he has a lot of room to like work with.
Yeah, you're definitely a hype beast, and you've chosen the one with the popularity. And I don't blame you. The Rookie of the Year can be a popularity contest. Like last year, everyone wanted Zion Williamson to win. They just physically couldn't give it to him because he had played 25 games. Yeah, I could see it. He definitely has the chance. I'm just a little nervous if he isn't able to score the basketball like people want. It's not that he won't put up rebounds and assists. I feel like if he's not averaging, 14, 15 points and he's averaging, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10, I just don't see people wanting to jump on that ship and give it to him. But I've seen crazier things, and he certainly is going to have the hype behind him, kind of like you're already hyping him up like everyone else. So I guess we're going to see, but I'm just going to tell you guys to pump your brakes. There's an easy Rookie of the Year winner, and that's James Wiseman. I don't know why we're looking farther than him. He's going to be playing with Steph Curry. They don't have Klay Thompson. He's going to be the second option on that team. And I could easily see him averaging like 18 points and 10 rebounds. And I think that's an easy winner for Rookie of the Year. I don't know why he's being slept on as much, but the Warriors are going to be good, and he's going to be one of their main options on offense. And I think Steve Kerr and the Warriors kind of mesh the system around him, and he's going to turn a lot of heads in his rookie season.
So you think that, like, because the bit you just said about Steve Kerr meshing the system around them, like the Warriors game for all these years has been so not organized around the center position. It's been so small ball that they have a guy who plays 6'7" and can kind of do everything playing the 5 every single year. What makes you think that they would reorganize their entire system of basketball for James Wiseman?
Well, it definitely helps that Klay Thompson's out. I think if maybe Klay was in and he was healthy, maybe they aren't going to do that. But I mean, right now you got Steph Curry, and then who's your other scoring option? Are you going to Draymond? Like you just said, he's not going to score. Maybe Kelly Oubre. I don't know if he's starting, but the reason
you're forgetting Wiggins.
Yeah, Wiggins.
No, I'm not forgetting Wiggins. He's not good, and I bet you he gets traded at some point this season just because they don't want him anymore.
Just mention Draymond Green, but not Wiggins.
Yeah, come on. Look, you're giving James Wiseman way too many points. In that system, he ain't scoring 18. He'd be lucky to get 12. He really.
Yeah. Hey man, that's what I think everyone thinks, but he's going to be a dominant big man that runs the floor with him, and everyone's going to be running out to Curry, and he's just going to get the ball dumped off to him. I don't think it's as crazy as anyone thinks, and you're the one that picked Denny Avdia. So who are you calling crazy?
Hey, okay, I could pick Anthony Edwards, but he's the number 1 overall pick, and you know what? He's not going to pan out like people want him to. So.
Hey, I mean, we're gonna see. As a Knicks homer, I'm gonna root for Obi Toppin, but I've watched the Knicks couple preseason games, and not that they all aren't always this, but they're a hot mess. They got Julius Randle and RJ Barrett bringing it up the court. I just don't think Obi gets enough shots. And then one dark horse. I know Logan's a Magic fan, so we'll say Cole Anthony. Let's throw him out there, and maybe he gets enough shots or gets the opportunity. But I think it'd be a fun story.
I'd love that as a Magic fan. I'd love for Cole Anthony to pan out, but I just don't know if they're gonna let him just score like he's shown the ability to, but on that Orlando team, I don't know if he's gonna even be able to.
Yeah, and a lot of that is also based around how much Markelle Fultz decides to improve in an off season. Because if he keeps on getting better and he keeps on fixing the things wrong with his game, Cole Anthony might never see the starting point guard position for that team.
Yeah, but Logan knows as much as I do. The Magic don't have anyone to score the ball. So when push comes to shove, they're going to have to put him in. I mean, they were playing Terrence Ross extensive minutes because he was literally the only one that could score. So,
What's his nickname again? Is he like the Human Torch or something?
Human Torch, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he's awesome.
People looking hard, dude. They're looking hard.
Yeah, I think Cole Anthony will be surprisingly good. He played well in his first preseason game, and I'm just hoping since we're all kind of Orlando natives, that maybe the Magic finally hit something and they didn't draft another Mario Hezonja that leaves within 2 years because he's terrible. Just an idea. We're going to move on to most improved player, and I'm going to hit this one off because he's one of my favorite players in the league, and that's Christian Wood. I know you're like, who? And, I don't blame you because he played on the Detroit Pistons last year. He's a 6'10", 6'11", power forward / center. Pretty athletic, and he's got a nice jump shot. But the Pistons, for whatever reason, and I don't know their front office, they didn't want to sign him. Instead, they wanted to give Jeremy Grant $20 million a year, which that's another question in itself. But Christian walked away, and he went to the Rockets. And so my rationale is I'm expecting Harden to be traded probably soon. And so Christian Wood's going to have a lot of opportunity to score there, and he's going to get a lot of open shots. Even if Harden is there, he'll still get a lot of open shots in the corner. Realistically, I don't know how many minutes they're going to play DeMarcus Cousins. And so I'm looking for Christian Wood to take a big step up and maybe average anywhere from 17 to 20 points. And I think that could get him in the running. But that's just my idea. You guys don't have to comment on this. I need to take a couple minutes to talk about Christian Wood.
I have to comment on it.
No, you don't have to do this.
You can't tell me for my outlandish picks and throwing Christian Wood in there. No, how much Houston Rockets basketball have you watched? James Harden dribbles the damn air out of the basketball. Okay, there's too many mouths to feed there. Christian Wood would be lucky to average 10 points. Come on.
That's disrespectful.
No, you'd be lucky. There's too many mouths to feed in Houston. Christian Wood is a rotational player with DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, obviously Harden. I'm forgetting some names, but he's down on the totem pole. I know you love him. There's a reason why Detroit gave him the boot. They said he's not worth whatever he was demanding. So
he got paid like 12 to 14 million a year. He earned it. He's my boy. And whatever, you can stay sleeping on him, but just watch out. When he averages 15, 20 points, I'm coming right back to this podcast and calling you out.
All right. Go for it.
But you guys, and we'll go into a more serious topic since I'm just doing a homer pick right here. Logan, who's your most improved player this year?
My most improved, finally a name that you can't clown me on, Jamal Murray. He's up near the top of the odds-on favorites. Look, if you watched Bubble Basketball, you watched some of the greatest back and forth ever between Jamal and Donovan Mitchell. That series was electric. It was fun to watch. Jamal Murray is going to reach a new level of stardom this year. That's my prediction. I think the Denver Nuggets obviously will be competing at the top of the West. And, Jamal Murray will average a lot of points, a lot of assists, and on a good Nuggets team. I don't see why he shouldn't win that award with these.
My only question is, what does he have to do to move up the award? I know his stats weren't as crazy as, he didn't even play that many games last year since he was injured for the majority of it. But I don't know. I feel like the bubble basketball kind of took him from, this C-list level of point guards and took him into like a B plus kind of area. So what kind of step does he make to get to, a most improved player status? That's just my idea, but I don't hate the pick. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I agree with you, Logan, in principle, that I think Jamal Murray is about to show us something that he hasn't shown us before this year. That bubble, I think, is going to be like a coming out party for what is going to be like a really, really, really great career from Jamal Murray. But I'm going to have to go with Austin on this one. A lot of the most improved players of the year that we've seen in the NBA have been guys who went from a lower level of production, average starter to high bench level production, and then the next year they take it up to something higher. Jimmy Butler back in 14 or 15 when he went from coming off the bench and being a defender to being a starter and averaging 18 or 19, Victor Oladipo when he jumped from 13 or 14 a game to 22. So with that said, given that Jamal Murray already was pretty good, I don't know if he could really contend with some of the younger guys that could rise up. Which brings me to my pick, which I'm going to pick Michael Porter Jr. for the most improved player of the year because he's coming from a bit of a lower threshold than Jamal Murray. I think Porter averaged 11 points maybe a game last year, 4 or 5 rebounds because of minutes restrictions, and it was on crazy incredible efficiency the entire year. I think he was button up on 50, 40, 90 almost the entire season. So if he gets that minutes restriction lifted, if he keeps on playing and gets all the opportunities that we know given his potential, I think that given the floor that he started out at, this season with all those minutes and everything could prove to be a really, really big increase in him for his stats.
But how's he going to play minutes if he's a liability on defense?
Well, he was a liability on defense during the bubble and during the regular season. We've had a couple months of work. Defense is something that you can learn. It's a system type thing. And with some targeted practice, I can't say this for certain, but defense is a lot more able to be worked on, in my opinion, than raw, unbelievable talent.
You're not wrong on that one, and I'm as big of a Michael Porter Jr. fan as there is. I loved him coming out of high school, and then when he went to Missouri and all the question marks surrounding his back, he's a fun player to watch. And honestly, the Nuggets have one of the promising young cores in the league. And we could do a whole video about them, just talking about Murray, MPJ, Jokic, who's only 24 maybe. Then you got the iconic Bol. I mean, they got a whole squad out there, and whether or not Bol, I mean, whatever about him, but their other four guys are all right on a trajectory to be a top NBA player. So they're a fun team to watch, and it's funny that you guys both picked a Nuggets player. I guess I should have just picked Bol to clean it out and sure do a clean sweep. But we're going to transition into not an award, but just kind of our overall thoughts and predictions. And we're going to go to the most surprising team that, people are coming in with these certain projections. And then we're going to think about who do we think over exceeds those projections, and who do we think is going to be the most surprising team in the NBA? We'll start with you, Matt. Who you got?
So as far as, would you like to do both in like one little segment, or would you like to separate them as far as surprising and disappointing?
Now we'll jump into disappointing later, because
Okay.
we're just going to talk. We're gonna be optimistic right here, and then we'll be pessimistic in a little bit.
All right, yeah, we'll take that. So as far as a surprising team goes, I'm gonna jump on the New Orleans Pelicans bandwagon because I think that they have a lot of potential, and the West is really, really, really stacked, and I completely acknowledge that. So there's about like 3 or 4 teams in the West that are dominantly going to take up the 1 through 4 spots. But I think the Pelicans could easily sneak up there to that 5. Like I haven't seen a lot of projections that have them above like an 8 maybe, just because the West is hard to get through. It's a gauntlet, but I really do think that if a couple things happen, meaning Zion Williamson, like given that he's dropped all that weight and that he looks really good, like if he's worked on his jumper a little bit, if Brandon Ingram is put on a little bit of muscle and stuff, like in the Eric Bledsoe edition, which given that they lost Drew Holiday, but like I think Eric Bledsoe will do some good things for that team, given that he's like a little bit less of a quality player, so he could take his lumps a little bit more with the team's rotation, than Drew Holiday did. But given all these things, I think the Pelicans could really, really make some noise and be like a 5 seed, maybe a sneaky 4 seed, depending on some things happening.
So just to recap, during this episode, Matt has hyped up Zion Williamson, LaMelo Ball, and Luka. So here we go. I see someone's on ESPN just clicking the most popular articles. But hey, you do you, man. I mean, you did hype up Michael Porter Jr. too. So yeah, you're an ESPN fanboy, but I don't hate the pick. Logan, how do you feel about the Pelicans this year?
It's hard to hate the Pelicans and what they're doing. I mean, they're a young team. They don't have a lot of expectations, given. But I have a team that had to win the play-in game just to get into the playoffs. This team gave the Lakers pretty much all they wanted. Yes, granted in 5 games, but it's the Blazers, and obviously I'm high on Damian Lillard and CJ in that core, but I think just given where they finished last year, the Blazers have a lot of momentum going into this year. I think just given the health of Zach Collins, Nurkic, they have enough to make it interesting in the West, and I would take them over a team like the Pelicans any day. I take them over a team like the Clippers any day, and they just play better as a unit, and I think they have promise next year.
Yeah, I like the Blazers, and they addressed one of their main concerns, which I think was depth. They even in that Lakers series, looked like they had 6 to 7 players healthy, and that was it. So I'm happy they brought in Derek Jones Jr. They got Robert Covington, and they got some bodies out there. I just don't know what the ceiling is for this Blazers team. We saw them make the Western Conference Finals a couple years ago, and I don't know. It seems like they've hit their ceiling, and I don't know if they can necessarily surprise too many people. But I guess if they hopped up into the 2 or 3 seed and they were all healthy all year, maybe that would be a surprise because I don't expect them to be that high. But I'm going to go to a team that you mentioned the play-in game, and it was the team they were playing against. My most surprising team is the Grizzlies. And it's not because, they almost made the playoffs last year. They were a little impressive, but I'm going to more just tote the rock on John Morant and everyone coming back healthy. They got Jaren Jackson Jr. back, which is a big piece that they were missing throughout the majority, if not all of the bubble. And they're all young and they're all bringing back the identical same starting lineup as last year. But the main comparison I'm going to make, and I don't want to jinx him, but am I the only one that's getting some John Morant, Derrick Rose vibes? Like the way he explodes and his speed and all of that, he just reminds me of Derrick Rose. I hope his career path is much better than D Rose and he's able to avoid injuries, but I don't know. He's looked pretty dang good for just a rookie in his first year.
I totally agree with that, honestly. In a lot of ways, I would even say that Jaw is a little more advanced for his rookie year than Derrick Rose was during his. Jaw's got a more reliable jumper. He's more clutch. He's a better passer. Like there's some amazing stuff going on there. I like the pick.
Yeah, like I'm not by no means am I saying they're going to be a 3 seed. For all I know, the Blazers could probably have a better record than them. Same as your pick, Matt. But I don't know. It's like I feel like there's so many teams out west. I mean, you got Lakers, you got the Clippers, even though we'll probably get into them in a little bit. Blazers, Mavs, all those good teams, and it feels like everyone just keeps dropping the Grizzlies a step below every time, every game. And I don't know. I feel like they're projected like the 9th or 10th seed, and I could see them surprising people and getting up to like the 5th or 6th seed. I'm not going to claim them to win the NBA championship, but they're a fun team to watch. And I'm excited to see how these young guys can pull it together for a second year now that they're all together, which is rare for a young core to all stick together. But since you were already, you wanted to be pessimistic earlier, Matt, I'm going to let you hit it off with the most disappointing team. Who's going to disappoint a lot of their fans this year?
Oh, no. Okay, so I'm going to throw this out here, and you guys might get some hate mail for this. So be ready.
You're going to get hate mail too, brother.
Oh, man. Yeah, don't throw my email out there because this is going to be bad. I think the most disappointing team in the NBA this year is going to be the Los Angeles Clippers. I think that team has so much hype around them, and on paper it looks like they could be the best team in the NBA, except they showed us a lot about their makeup last postseason, like playoff P, we're gonna let a guy
Pandemic P.
Yeah, oh yeah,
that's his real name.
Yeah.
Pandemic P.
We're gonna let a guy who gave himself a nickname and said, "What, y'all ain't heard of playoff P?" We're going to let that guy sign a huge deal and be this huge player for that team, And then Kawhi Leonard, I'm not going to knock on Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has some proven, success to his name, He has a lot more proven success than Paul George, in my humble opinion. But Kawhi Leonard was also part of that big choke job that we saw in the second round of the playoffs last year, he had this great narrative 2 years ago with the run to the NBA Finals where that shot over Joel Embiid, the Kawhi clutch stuff. But something we got to remember about Kawhi Leonard is that, in a lot of ways, his path was kind of paved by injuries along the way. So I think that
even his own path, honestly, with injury.
Yeah. So Kawhi Leonard, don't get me wrong, I think he's a great player. But if we were to have a whole most overhyped player of this entire podcast, I would be throwing both of those guys as the 1 and 2 in that. I would be refuting everything I've seen Max Kellerman say about the Clippers on ESPN, and we could go into another segment about that another day. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think the Clippers are going to disappoint. I think that there's a lot of people who are saying that they could be the number 2 team in the West. I could easily see them falling to 4. Losing Montrez and not knowing about Paul George, not knowing about Kawhi, I think they're going to fall off.
Let me cut you off, Logan. I'm gonna jump in. I like the overhyped player, and I'm probably gonna burn a lot of bridges here. But my overhyped players, and I will get into my disappointing team, which I can do them 2 and fold. It's gonna be Tyler Hero and the Miami Heat.
Oh, that's pain.
I love Hero, and I think he was great, but I think the bubble fit not only the team, but even him perfectly. And that's why I think they're going to take a step back this year. And that's why they're my most disappointing team. Because you think about it, they were great shooters and they were gritty and played great defense. And that fit great with the bubble. But, when you think about it and you would compare them into the Eastern Conference, you got the Nets who have KD back and Kyrie. I don't think they're beating them. I don't see them beating the Bucks again now that they got Drew Holiday and company. I mean, that could go either way, but they're not beating the Celtics. And then all you know, if the Sixers somehow pull it together and Ben Simmons finds a jump shot, next thing you know, they're already at the 5 seed. So that's why I'm saying that the Heat might disappoint a lot of people this year. And that's kind of why I'm just not. And for Tyler Hero, people are like crowning him like he's the next. I can't even give a good comparison, but they're crowning him like he's the next 25 point per game scorer. And I just don't buy it. I think he's going to come back down to earth this year.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to cut off Logan before he starts and get his picks in, but as a Heat fan, hearing that makes me a little bit sad, but I can't lie, because part of my consideration for most disappointing team would have also been the Heat for a lot of those reasons. I think that just the expectations are too high right now given what they performed in the postseason this last year. And I do agree with that Hero pick. I think he's being crowned way too early for more than what he is. I think he has potential because he could end up being like Jason Tatum, where like Jason Tatum had a pretty good rookie year and then he went off in the playoffs, and now a lot of people are talking about Jason Tatum being in the top 10. Or he could be a flash in the pan. And we won't know.
Yeah, Logan, you can take it away before I start ranting even more about the Heat.
Perfect segue to my pick. You're talking about Jason Tatum. How about the team that lost to the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Boston Celtics? I think, first of all, to address both of your picks, I don't know how I could argue against the Clippers with PG breaking off the side of the backboard. That shot has been burned into my brain for a long time. And you also got the Miami Heat, which, to be honest, reaching the finals, the only way to go is down. Like, come on, let's be honest. I don't think many people think they're going to make the finals again. So I want to go in the direction of the Celtics, and it's just because of what I saw in the bubble. I saw Jason Tatum having to carry the team at times. And I saw there was times when, of course, Jaylen Brown had to step up. It felt like a 2-man team, and both were looking to each other like, oh, now it's your time. No, it's your time. And they're not a deep team. They got used and abused by Joel Embiid. Sure, they beat the Sixers in that series, but Joel Embiid could have went for 50 if they just fed him the basketball every time. Like they haven't addressed some of their weaknesses. To my knowledge, I mean, they let some people go. Some of their best, they didn't get better. And I think in a changing Eastern Conference, when you've got the Heat clearly up there, and you got, like I said, the Nets better. I mean, I think the Celtics are in some trouble.
Yeah, but they got Tristan Thompson now.
Yeah, they didn't get better. They didn't address their needs.
Yeah, no. When you bring up that, and I didn't really give much thought into the Celtics, but yeah, I could totally see it. I saw the ESPN list. Jason Tatum was, I think, number 11. I think that's a little high for him, but I'm not gonna bash him right now. He's super young, and apparently he's 6'10" now, and he grew 2 inches. I don't know if I buy that. That seems like a whole load of baloney, but. Yeah, I mean, they lost Gordon Hayward, which I think will prove to be a bigger loss than they think. Like, he was a consistent 18-point scorer, and I don't know where those 18 points are coming from. Are you counting on Marcus Smart, who already was chucking up 15 shots a game? Now he's shooting 20, like, ew. And then Tristan Thompson, that brother can't make a shot to save his life, except if it's in the practice gym. Then he's suddenly a three-point shooting god. So just not bought on the Celtics. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I think that's a really good pick, Logan. And I think they're another situation like the Heat, where I'm not going to say they overperformed, but they made it to a pretty high level for where they were at. And like with the losses that they've had and more teams figuring their stuff out, I do think they could go down easily. I think that the Bucks could rise up and easily knock them out of the playoffs along the way so that they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals again. And I think that there's even other teams that could maybe upset them too.
Yeah, it feels like this is the first year in a while that the Eastern Conference is looking like it's going to actually be good. I'll just rattle off some names, and you let me know if I'm missing some. Like, we got the Nets, they're obvious. You got the Celtics, you got the Bucks. Who else? You got the Heat, like I just said. 76ers should be better. You got the Pacers, who I don't know what the Victor Oladipo situation's like, but I don't know about that. But they were still good with T.J. Warren, Sabonis, Brogdon. So that's 6 teams. I already said the Hawks would be pretty good this year. So I'm up
You
to
always have the
7.
Raptors.
Yeah, I even missed the Raptors, which there's going to be a top 3 seed. So there you already have 8 teams. And I know the Magic have to get the 8 seed. That's just how it works. They're always there. But I don't know. It seems like every year you got like 12 teams out west that are so good. And then you take their 12th team and you put them in the Eastern Conference, and they're like the 4 seed. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think this is the first year like the Eastern Conference might be legit.
Yeah, I don't think that's a flaming hot take at all.
I mean, it will probably blow up in my face. We'll probably see several of the teams be under 500 halfway. It's going to be rough. It's just the Eastern Conference, and I mean, the only other disappointing team I think I could throw out there before we end it, it's going to be the Brooklyn Nets. I don't want to hear your guys' thoughts. How do you think the Brooklyn Nets are going to do this year with KD and Kyrie?
Logan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I think, call me crazy. I think they're going to be really good. I think a lot of people are curious to see how the interplay between Kyrie and KD is going to work. But I want to remind everyone they were being competitive with like a skeleton team in the bubble. I mean, they have a good chemistry. Does KD make a team worse? Absolutely not. He's one of the best scorers in NBA history. I think it's going to come down to, can Kyrie not blow up the locker room? I really think that like he's already starting to be a little bit of a disturbance in the media right now. Let's hope he gets that out of his system right now. But I think the biggest challenge to the Nets is just, can Kyrie keep his head on straight? If they do, who says that they're not the best team in the NBA, like, or in the Eastern Conference at least?
Yeah, I can get along with that. I think that their rotation and everything on paper looks almost like last year Clippers-esque, where they get these 2 new young guys, like not young guys, like the 2 new star players in, and then they have this massive cast of role players that all could go off on any given night. You got Jared Allen. Now they got DeAndre Jordan. You got, what's his name? Karis LeVert and all these other guys, Yeah, like, do they still have Joe Harris? Is he still on that team, or did he leave?
Joe Harris, yeah, he signed a big deal. Props to him. Shout out.
Yeah, seriously. So, like, you got all these guys who could do something any given night, and yeah, I think that it's going to come down to how well Kyrie can play with KD, not how well KD can play with Kyrie. And that, like, their status as a team in the East could go from the 5 seed to the 1 seed based on how that one factor goes.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that, and I can echo everything you both just said. It's not down to Kevin Durant. He's going to be legit. He's going to be the Kevin Durant of old. But yeah, Kyrie, normally with the best players in the world, they normally get added to a team and they make them better. That hasn't been the case with Kyrie's future or career thus far. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year. He's been injured the last, seems like 2-3 years, honestly. So it'll be interesting to watch them. They could go either way. They could be the 1 seed, like you said, Matt, or they could easily be 5 or 6, and I wouldn't be surprised. But that's going to do it. To remind everyone, please check us out on all social medias at Calling Our Shot, and check out our articles at callingourshot.com. We'll be back later this week to break down some of the biggest NFL matchups to watch for. That's all we got for Logan and Matt. I'm Austin. Calling Our Shot is out. Peace.